Chapter 20. The next few days passed uneventfully. The phone rang, but the whole time I kept the answering machine on and didn't bother picking up. Nice to know that my services were still in demand though. I cooked meals, went to Shibuya, and saw unrequited love every day. It was spring break, so the theater was always packed with high school students. It was like an animal house. I wanted to burn the place down. Now that I knew what to look for, I was able to find Kiki's name in fine type in the opening credits. Then after her scene, I'd leave the theater and walk my usual course from Harajuku to Jingu Stadium, Aoyama Cemetery, Omote Sando, past the Jintian building, back to Shibuya. Sometimes I'd stop for a coffee along the way. Spring had surely come, bringing its familiar smells. The earth persisted in its measured orbit of the sun. I always find it a cosmic mystery that spring knows when to follow winter. And how is it that spring always brings out the same smells, year after year, however subtle, exactly identical? The town was plastered with election posters, ugly and repugnant. Trucks were making the rounds, blaring out speeches by politicians, so loud you couldn't tell what they were saying. Noise. I walked and thought about Kiki, and before long I noticed I'd regained my stride. A lift had come back to my step. My awareness of things around me had sharpened. I was moving forward intently, one step at a time. I had focus, a goal, which somehow quite naturally lightened my step, almost gave me soft shoe framework. This was a good sign. Dance. Keep in step. Light but steady. Freshen up. Maintain the rhythm. Keep things going. I had to pay careful attention where this was leading me next. Had to make sure I stayed in this world. The last 4 or 5 days of March passed in this way. On the surface, there was no progression at all. I'd do the shopping, make meals in the kitchen, see unrequited, go for long walks. I'd play back the answering machine when I got home, inevitably calls about work. At night, I'd read and drink alone. Every day was a repeat of the day before. Drinking alone at night, I fixated on sex with May, the goat girl, shoveling snow. An oddly isolated memory, unconnected to anything, not to Gotanda, not to Kiki, but ever so real, down to the smallest details, in some sense even more vivid than waking reality, though ultimately unconnected. I liked it that way, a self-bound meeting of souls, two persons joined together respecting their illusions and images. That fine, we're all friends here smile, morning at camp, cuckoo. I tried to picture Kiki and Gotanda sleeping together. Did she give him the same ultra-sexy service as May gave me? Were all the girls at the club drilled in such professional know-how? Or was May strictly her own technician? I had no idea, and I couldn't very well ask Gotanda. All the time Kiki was living with me, she was, if anything, rather passive about sex. Sure, she warmed up and responded, but she never made the first move and never had demands of her own. Not that I ever had any complaints. She was wonderful when she relaxed. Her soft, inviting body, quite easy breath, hot vagina. No, I had no complaints. I just couldn't picture her delivering professional favors to anyone, to Gotanda, for instance. Maybe I lacked the imagination. How do prostitutes keep their private sex separate from their professional sex? Before May, I'd never slept with a curl girl. I'd slept with Kiki, and Kiki was a curl girl. But I didn't sleep with Kiki the curl girl, I slept with Kiki. And conversely, I slept with May the curl girl, but not May. There probably was nothing to gain from correlating these two circumstances. That would only make matters more complicated. And anyway, where does sex stop being a thing of the mind? Where does technique begin? How far does the real thing go? How much is acting? Was sufficient foreplay a spiritual concern? Did Kiki actually enjoy sex with me? Was she really acting in the movie? Were Gotanda's graceful fingers sliding down her back, turning her on? Caught in the crosshair of the real and the imaginary. Take Gotanda. His doctor persona was all image, yet he looked more like a real doctor than any doctor I knew. All the dependability and trust he projected. What was my image? Did I even have one? Dance, the shipman said. Dance in tip-top form. Dance so it all keeps spinning. Did that mean I would then have an image? And if I did, would people be impressed? Well, more than they'd be impressed by my real self, I bet. When I awoke the following morning, it was April, as delicately rendered as a passage from Truman Capote, fleeting, fragile, beautiful. April, made famous by T.S. Eliot and Count Basie. I went to Kinokuniya for some overpriced groceries and well-trained vegetables. Then I picked up 2 6-packs of beer and 3 bottles of bargain wine. When I got back home, there was a message from Yuki, her voice totally disinterested. She said she'd call again around 12. Then she slammed down the receiver, a common phrasing in her body language. I dripped some coffee, then sat down with a mug and the latest 87th Precinct adventure, something I've failed to quit for 10 years now. Then a little past noon, the phone rang. "How's it going?" It was Yuki. "Okay." "What are you doing?" she asked. "Thinking about lunch. Smoked salmon with pedigreed lettuce and razor-sharp slices of onion that have been soaked in ice water, brushed with horseradish and mustard, served on French butter rolls baked in the hot ovens of Kinokuniya, a sandwich made in heaven." "It sounds okay." "It's not okay. It's nothing less than uplifting. And if you don't believe me, you can ask your local bee. You could ask your friendly clover. They'll tell you it is really great." "What's this bee and clover stuff? What are you talking about?" "Figure of speech." "You know," said Yuki, "you ought to try growing up. I'm only 13, but even so, I sometimes think you're kind of dumb." "You mean I should become more conventional? Is that what you're telling me? Is that what growing up means?" "I want to go for a drive." She ignored my question. "How about tonight?" "I think I'm free," I said. "Well then, be there at 5 in Akasaka. You remember how to get here, don't you?" "Yeah, but don't tell me you've been alone all this time." "Uh-huh. Nothing's happening in Hakone. I mean, the place is on top of a mountain. Who wants to go there to be alone? More fun in town." "What about your mother? She hasn't returned?" "Not that I know of. I can't keep track of her. I'm not her mother, you know. She hasn't called or anything, so maybe she's still in Kathmandu." "What about money?" "I'm okay for money. I've got a cash card that I pinched from her purse. One less card, she'll never notice. I mean, if I don't look out for myself, I'll die. Mama's such a space cadet, as you know." My turn to ignore her. "You've been eating healthy?" "I'm eating. What did you think? I'd die if I didn't." "That's not what I asked. I said, are you eating healthy?" Yuki coughed. "Let's see. First there was Kentucky Fried Chicken, then McDonald's, then Dairy Queen. And what else?" "I'll be there at 5, I said. "We'll go somewhere decent to eat. You can't survive on garbage you've been putting down. An adolescent girl needs nourishment. You're at a very delicate time of your life, you know. Bad diet, bad periods. You're an idiot," she muttered. "Now, if it's not too much to ask, would you give me your phone number?" "Why?" "Because one-way communication isn't fair. You know my number, I don't know yours. You call me when you feel like it. I can't call you. It's one-sided. Besides, suppose something came up suddenly. I wouldn't be able to reach you." She paused, muttered some more, then gave me her number. "But don't think you can change plans anytime you feel like it," said Yuki. "Mama's so good at it already, you don't stand a chance." "I promise I won't change plans. Cross my heart and hope to die. You can ask the cabbage moth. You can ask the alfalfa. That's not a human alive who keeps promises better than me. But sometimes the unexpected happens. It's a big, complicated world, you know. And if it happens, don't you think it'd be nice if I could get through to you? Got it?" "Unforeseeable circumstances," she said, "out of the clear blue sky." "Nice if they didn't happen," said Yuki. "Nice if they didn't," I echoed. But of course they did.